Okay, I think we'll make a start. Thank you so much to everyone joining us today. It's really good to see so many people jumping into our webinar. Just a bit of introductions from myself on behalf of SGI and Superwomen in Tech. So SGI are a global workforce solutions provider, and we deliver technology talent across niche specialisms on a global scale. And Superwomen in Tech is part of our community events series. And we launched the group in order to highlight and spotlight women leading change in technology, shaping the future of work. And it's about inspiration, action, and impact, and building a future-friendly workforce. So just a bit of housekeeping and a bit of information about today. After the main presentation, there will be opportunity for everyone to ask questions. If you would like to ask a question, please drop it in the Q&A box, which you can see at the bottom of your screen. After Aurora's main presentation, we'll pick those up and read them through. But without further ado, let me welcome our incredible speaker today, Aurora Kapo, who will be delivering a brilliant presentation on the future of AI. Thank you.
Hi everyone, I'm Aurora. Thank you very much for having me. I work for HSBC as an AI strategy manager, and I've been involved into the AI world, let me say it that way, for 2 years. I'm an Oxford alumni where I did a very technical master's in statistical science. And today I'm more than happy to talk about the rise of agentic AI. Everyone talks a lot about AI in general, but every now and then we have emerging things into the AI world happening. And one of those is the agentic AI. And I thought, where then, better in this community to talk about it and kind of raise awareness and talk together where we're heading next with AI and how we're going to go about it. I want to bring more insights into what it is, where we currently are, and how AI is being shaped, and talk a bit about the hype cycle of AI as well. So yeah, without further ado, I actually have started my slides with some fun memes. And the reason why is because I think it tells a very nice story where we're kind of heading. So we started obviously with everyone talking about, that AI is going to take our jobs. AI is kind of the monster that, we are going to become worthless at some point, but we are still here and still people are employed. And I want today to affirm that AI has been shaped by humans, and you need that expert human in the loop to always maintain the AI models and everything. And now and then we have new things coming up. And we started with ChatGPT, that a lot of people were using it and still are using it. And then, last months, we had this DeepSeek thing emerging out of nowhere that no one kind of saw it coming. And it boomed into less than 2 days, basically, with tons of users, significant user using it, and more than even OpenAI, with distinctive usage, but still kind of the main applications in the Gen AI world. Something that we have seen with Gen AI is that it has made things much easier, much efficient, and summarization and everything has become so much quicker nowadays for everyone who has tons of information and don't have much time basically to sit down and read many documents. And that's why I call it like the world of AI, because we're living at a time where everything now, it's much fast-paced. It's a dynamic and very transformative world, and it's AI in the essence, it's just a technology that it's mimicking human intelligence, and it has helped many industries, banking sector, manufacturing, marketing, to actually revolutionize the way they go about it, how they deliver things, and how they go to the customers. And AI definitely has made things so much efficient, and it has enhanced incredibly the decision making. If people before were doubting whether, oh, is this a fraud alert or is it not? Nowadays, with decision making that AI brings in, it is so much more efficient and much more certain. And last but not least, it has unlocked many innovative possibilities, how we can go about it, and even how people think about technology nowadays. And I want to start next with a fun quiz, actually. And hopefully you have your phones with you. And for this one, probably I will need to share screen real quickly. I think just so that people can see the question at the same time. Let me know if you are not actually able to see the questions in the chat. Would greatly appreciate. So yeah, I hope you have kind of signed into it. And let me know, Rebecca, if you cannot see the actual, if you cannot see the screen.
Absolutely perfect. You can see the question on the screen. Brilliant.
Yes, thank you. So basically, I just want to start with this quiz just because I want to understand the audience, right? Like where you guys are with AI and what do you think about it? And I've started with a simple question, which is, which kind of best describe today your relationship with AI? And as I see, at least from the responses that I have now, a fair amount of people is they use it quite occasionally. I hope you can see the answers as well.
Sorry to jump in. The screen's gone.
Oh, it's paused weirdly. Yes. Oh, well, that's unfortunate, but well, I will just walk through with the answer, I guess, so to not add kind of more obstacle. So quite a large proportion of you are saying that they use AI for use it quite regularly, which is a great thing. And I put a question: what do you think when you think about agentic AI? And here I see personal assistant, which in a way actually summarizes quite well. Efficiency, support, yeah, incredible. Again, I hear the word assistant. Yeah, because what agentic AI is doing is basically come to the customer, come to the people, and do things in a way for you. What I see here is productivity, and that's incredible part of agentic AI because it is there to make things more productive for the people, for the humans at the same time. And I would like to kind of go next to the next question, which is, do you believe AI agents will be part of your team in 3 years? And the reason why I ask that is because we are now at a stage where we are saying, okay, we are here now, we are talking about kind of AI and what is going to do to us. But then what is going to be in 5 years? And I said, okay, let's not just go 5 years. Let's just think now for 3 years. And I see here like a huge proportion of you. It's like, yes, definitely, it will be part of your teams. And I agree with that. And then we have people that say AI agents are already here. And that is true. We have a lot of testing things happening now in the world using agentic AI, especially into the healthcare, into financial institutions as well. And now we'll talk about it in upcoming slides as well. The next question that I've put here is, which of these tasks would you feel comfortable delegating to an AI agent today? And I've put here booking meetings, drafting emails, making hiring recommendations, running a process end to end, or I'm not comfortable delegating anything yet. Because a strong part of it is how much trust do humans nowadays still trust AI? Because if you're going to be an AI making decision for you, so being your personal assistant and increase production, that means you fully trust it. And what are these things that you, as users, as people in the audience, think that you would be very kind of trustworthy to let AI do this for you? And I see a lot of people kind of choosing booking meetings and drafting emails and making hiring recommendations as well, which is a bit more kind of spread out. But obviously in the hiring recommendation, it's a bit skeptical because, you know, you are dealing here with bias and fairnesses in the process. So yeah, good stuff. I hope everyone has had the chance to answer. And last two question is, what concerns you most about AI agents? As I said, there is some skeptical things about AI. So is it trustworthy, responsibility, accountability, bias and fairness, and things like that? I read something quite good here. So controlling your devices and doing its own thing without consent. The other thing is that has been written by one of you guys is losing our unique human voices in the process, emotional intelligence, privacy, what will it do with my information, taking over jobs, especially junior role, etc., etc. So much good stuff in here, which today we will definitely talk about. Okay, so that was kind of the end of the quiz. And I think I'm happy to kind of say that all of these things that we discussed, we're going to touch base today in these slides. And I wanted to start with a hype cycle, first of all, because all of these things that we're discussing today is about where we're heading next. And I mentioned, where do you see agentic AI kind of being placed? And there is a hype that people expect AI what to do, but also what is actually capable of well doing, and kind of the productivity as well. So this hype cycle, which has been a research done by Gartner, assessing 320 financial firms, says that the peak of it, of inflated expectation, is the engineering part of AI. And then right at the end, we have quantum as well, which is going to emerge even more in the upcoming years. However, quantum AI has been in the space for quite some years, and people keep saying, oh, it's going to increase, it's going to go there and everything, but still, it is still at the end bottom. And now we have agentic AI that has kind of increased the risk, but still is kind of in the expectation that people expect. Next, in the next slide, I want to talk more about the differences between having agentic AI, and machine learning, because we have this kind of prospects, which I think people tend to confuse about what AI can do and basically how we go about it. And I want to start first with AI. So AI is a broad field, basically, and machine learning in itself, it's just a subfield that kind of lets system learn from the data. But today, we are talking about the next steps, and we're going to the agentic AI. And this system don't just answer questions, but they kind of set and pursue goals that we put. And kind of what you mentioned as well is that how much we can trust. Are we giving too much, in a way, info to the AI? How about the privacy and everything? So in a way or another, we've kind of in that side of the story when actually we're a bit skeptical still how we go with the agentic AI. But anyway, agentic AI can use this tool and is able to adapt to changes and even collaborate with humans at the end of the day. But let me go a bit more dive into like the agentic AI. So in the agentic AI, basically, we kind of have some aspects of it, which can go good and can go bad. And we have seen this from the history of AI. And I've kind of gave this example just to kind of tell a story that at the end of the day, you have amazing things happening with AI, but you also have kind of AI going wrong. So it's a failure. So it's not all about candies and, rainbows. And I've put 3 main use cases, which I think have kind of been more in the media out there. And I will start with New York City, where they created this AI chatbot, and they were kind of encouraging anyone to use it. But actually, at the end of the day, it turns out that business owners were kind of using it to break the law. So it turns out to do more illegal stuff than actually was helping out. We have used it, people into the AI tutor groups. They kind of created this recruitment tool to basically assess applicants. However, it turned out that actually it was doing discrimination. So it was rejecting applicants because of their age. And last, we've had data set trained from Microsoft itself to actually spew racist tweets. But as I said, we have good things as well. And one of the things that we see is JP Morgan leading the stance from the financial sectors with Doc LLM, which is a multimodal document understanding, and it's able to process huge significant files We have Ally, which use it into the enterprise AI platform and kind of increased efficiency. And last, again, in the financial sector, however, a bit more different, into the health prototyping and how we use financial advisors as well. Next one, as I said, to dive more deep into the agentic AI is, as I said, a class of AI which is designated to act like an intelligent agent. And this system, and I want to highlight, are autonomous, are goal-directed, and context-aware. So they break down instructions into more structured plans and refine their outputs based on the feedback. So all of this is being done by mimicking human intelligence, but at the same time, having less human intervention into the space. So in a way, it's like you're giving the AI a mission, and you're not just giving it a prompt like you do with ChatGPT, for example. So in a way, you're kind of giving a purpose and a goal, what to do, and you give it, obviously, the trust to do it for you. But in the next slide, I want to talk about why now? Why are we kind of talking now? The next slide, please. Why now are we talking about agentic AI? So we're going from assistants that are actually able to answer the questions to agents that actually are able to solve the problems for you. And who doesn't want that at the end of the day? A few of the questions that I've received whenever I talk about agentic AI is, okay, we have agentic AI, but why, for example, are we moving from Gen AI, or are we forgetting Gen AI? It's not that we're moving, it's just that it's two different contexts, right? So, and it, in a way, two different purposes. So the shift obviously hasn't happened like overnight. We have had these advances in large language models, which are the main capabilities that you leverage into the Gen AI, the tools used, the memories and planning, which now kind of has allowed us to build the systems that are more able to behave like autonomous collaborators. And obviously the tech stack has very much matured, and the demand from all the industries to go to more automations, to more knowledge sharing work has obviously skyrocketed. And the last piece that I wanted to discuss is the competitive advantage. So obviously we have gone, every firm wants to adapt it and wants to have that market's leverage towards AI. So obviously the people who will be the first movers with it will unlock a lot of opportunities in production and operational efficiencies. So that's why now we're talking about it, is because it's kind of, we want to obviously make more use and more power of it. And at the end of the day, we want to kind of harness the power that it can give. And three are kind of the main things that I've put in the slides, which is the knowledge foundation, infrastructure optimization, and human AI collaboration. So in the knowledge foundation bit, I wanted to kind of touch more about the part how businesses' expertise are able to codify the processes and everything to give more informed decision and more intelligent agent behavior. In the infrastructure optimization part, is it helps the data structures and how we do the data pre-processing for a more seamless AI integration into what we use into the business world. Last, the human AI collaboration is that we will be able to implement these robust oversight mechanisms to actually balance between the control and also, the other hand, autonomy that we will give to this model. The next slide is basically, I want to kind of touch a bit how agentic AI actually works and what are the main things that we use. And I've put this picture, which obviously I did not create it, but I think it kind of gives a lot of a good indication how it kind of works. And with the first instruction is actually with the user provider. So with that, we give an instruction to it, and we kind of tell the agent what we want to kind of achieve by using agentic AI. And with that, it is able to kind of do that by integrating natural language prompts, but also to kind of use that AI assisting tools that it is able to do, and kind of seek more clarifications that it needs from the humans. After you kind of give the user instructions, we go to the next bit, which is agents, system, plan, allocate, and actually executes the work. So obviously, the agent will plan a multi-step workflow, and it executes the task, refine the results based on your feedback, and eventually complete the goal. So it's an iterative process, and that's kind of why the picture goes like a wave, because at the end of the day, human in the loops makes it adaptable and reliable for the users. And the main target of it is the agent executing an action for you. So per se, if you want someone to book something for you, in the end, you will have an AI doing it for you by knowing your information, your data, and everything that you kind of give the prompt to. The next slide, I want to touch a bit the differences between the agentic AI versus the Gen AI. A short sentence to say Gen AI creates the content. However, agentic AI gets things done. So generative AI, it's all about producing content, right? And while the agentic AI, as I said, does things for you. Think of it like this. So Gen AI basically writes a report, while agentic AI writes the report, emails it to the right person, and even scheduling a follow-up meeting for you. So it takes it much steps ahead and much step farther than just creating the contact for you. And basically, it has three kind of main things to do, which I mentioned in the beginning, right? It kind of goes to that, as I said, the goal, the planning, and the act, which is an iterative process that the Agentic's AI do. And they're able to actually maintain quite well the context and the memory as well that you give to it over time. So it is quite amazing how it is able to remember the context that you give, and it's going to kind of perform as a personal assistant at the end of the day of you. And it will leverage the information you give and you kind of maintain in the system as well. But in a generative AI context, actually, this is kind of a setback. So there is no kind of memory or even long-term contacts as well. And obviously, the examples that we have seen nowadays is like ChatGPT, DALL-E, GitHub Copilots. Some famous example of agentic AI has been the AutoGPT, Agentic Ops, and obviously Enterprise Task Agent. And one of the things that we have seen it kind of performing as best of, or like best practices, has been in automating workflows as well. And now I wanted to dive a bit more into the core capabilities of agentic AI with kind of the five main things, which is autonomous goal execution, reasoning and decision-making, adaptive learning and multi-system orchestration, and context awareness and interaction. So these agents, as I mentioned, have memory. They have goal planning, autonomy, and can interact with APIs, databases, or even the tools that you provide. So this, what it means at the end of the day is that they can operate within your business systems directly. And this is kind of make things much, much faster. And that's why a lot of people are putting so much emphasis now into the agentic AI, maybe even kind of compared them before. And this is where, in reality, where the real transformation begins into the businesses. And that's why I mentioned in the beginning, the world of AI, like transforming things for you and the business. When we go kind of the adaptive learning bit, is that it's learning from not only the data that you have, but even from new data. And it receives the feedback from the human. As I said, it is an iterative process. You are able to kind of, as a user, give the feedback to kind of learn from it, and even from past outcomes or from past things that the AI has kind of done, which has significantly increased how things go beyond it, and continuously refines these strategies and behaviors which is obviously something that research is still going on it, and kind of considering how basically at the end are we able to refine better and better this model. And agentic AI does not only use like full system, but it uses a lot of multi-system kind of orchestration. So and the reason for that is, as I mentioned, that it integrates with different tools, with different databases, with different platforms, APIs as well. So it's a lot of things coming up together to actually make these processes more refined. And the reason for that is because it kind of coordinates across the system to complete these workflows. Context awareness and interaction in this part here is talking about interpretability and how we understand it. So a big piece of it, when we talk about agentic AI, and it was said during the quiz, is the emotional intelligence side, which is a very, very good, I think, things to kind of consider, because obviously we think that AI can understand the emotion and everything, and yes, it can to some sort of level, but still, it's not entirely able to understand the user input and the emotional tone 100%. But with the agentic AI, we've seen this core capability actually increasing much more, and which is a fascinating thing for obviously people who interact with it and wants to adapt it into their system and kind of life as well. And last, it's able to maintain the context across all the session and kind of interaction, the conversations that you do. Something increasingly, this kind of happens also in the generative AI, but much more obviously in the agentic world. And still kind of how we go about the core capabilities of agentic AI is talk about 4 main frameworks, which is the modularity, the scalability, interpretability, which I mentioned before, and reinforcement learning. Reinforcement learning, which is still, as I mentioned in the beginning, a part of machine learning, it kind of has something that compared to supervised or unsupervised learning has, I would say, an advantage. And the reason for that is because it is able to learn quite well from the environment. So think it as like you're putting a taxi into the city, and the taxi needs to find the person who has obviously called for the cab. How you teach the taxi to go at a more efficient time to pick that person up. And actually, reinforcement learning, it's where it kind of optimizes the things for you. And that's why it's a main capability or core capability when we talk about agentic AI, because it talks about continuous improvement, learning from the space, learning from the environment, and actually optimize the goal. And real time, it receives feedbacks. So continuing with a taxi example, if the taxi, for example, goes into the wrong direction of the city to pick up the person, it will receive a negative reward. And the reason why is because like it's not optimizing efficiently. But if it goes in the right direction, with reinforcement learning, you get like a +1 reward. So you kind of optimize and you kind of tell the agent what to do and how to do that much better every time by learning into an iterative process. And going a bit backwards into the interpretability part, which is about how we interpret the results and what we get from agentic AI. And a big part of it is actually API and how we kind of have this protocol standardization. And we want to make this task much more seamless, much more autonomous. And in a way, we've kind of talking about how it is integrated. And we want to make sure the functionalities that we get are actually interpretable. And scalability, here we talk about the performances that we get. And when we talk about performances, it's actually how much at scale is what we get from the agentic AI compared to the generative AI at scale, at large, when we feed data, when we feed models and everything. Scalability, it's actually a bit, I would say, a bit puzzle of how we talk about in the business world and financial world, because obviously we're kind of talk about this kind of dynamic kind of workload that it kind of provides for the management that needs to be kind of dealt with, and how you treat it at the end of the day. And last, modularity. It's the core, kind of the main thing of agentic AI is actually to make things much easier, integrated and upgraded, much more faster, and obviously kind of building that system resilience. And yeah, kind of going to now comparing agentic versus the AGI, which is kind of, I think I was confused at some point as well, but I've kind of made this, I found this nice table that kind of gives the differences between the both, is that agentic AI, definitely it's not AGI, and kind of let's clear this out, because it's obviously it's much, much narrow. And when I say narrow, it's actually autonomously much narrow. And when we kind of talk about the autonomy, is that with the agentic AI, you can much easier execute the task, as I mentioned, without needing the human or without needing the human insight or input, just because it learns from the data. But with the AGI, obviously, you need to kind of step back and kind of have those kind of objectives and define these problems from using from having that human intervention. And at the end of the day, and kind of a nice example is in the agentic AI is with AutoGPT, how kind of with the planning research tasks for you, AI sales agents, and negotiating deals. In the AGI aspect, a very good example is how AI creates for you scientific, for example, discoveries, or running companies as well, or designing new kind of economics models. So agentic AI is kind of very real, very usable, even nowadays. So it has started, it is part of many processes. And it's compared to AGI, it's not as broader vision, right? It has kind of more specific into what it entails. And that's why I said it's much more narrow. The applications, however, as I mentioned, of agentic AI, it's in different aspects. And I will start kind of with the main thing, which is the customer service. We'll go into the manufacturing, sales, and healthcare. But there are many more, right? But these are kind of the ones that I think there are more being invested, being funded, and kind of out there at the moment, at least. In the customer service or the customer-facing roles, is that it has obviously helped into resolving issues from end to end, and kind of it has moved in a way beyond going through scripts that people use or having those prompting for you, but actually taking action for the customer. So let's just say you go into a store and basically AI figures out everything, how to pick it up for you. And kind of that has leveraged a lot of the things, how we can go with AI. And I put here an example that I kind of read before, that it helped into like recommending the customer in the compliance world, how to take the steps when you kind of deal with new systems. In the manufacturing bit, AI agents have kind of helped into analyzing a lot of the processes, how they go in the back-end in manufacturing world, so predicting optimizations, predicting failures, and how to make things more optimized for productions, and even designing more enhanced processes. An example that I read was the Juna AI, which has deployed goal-specific agents to run virtual factories, which has obviously helped into cutting downtime and cost and even emissions. In sales support, so obviously in the marketing kind of world or sales side, so agentic AI have kind of boosted their productivity because it has obviously can very well handle those kind of tasks that are very admin. And as, for example, as I gave the example with drafting the email, it goes beyond into like scheduling the call for you, or even sending it to the right person, interpreting messages, not only summarizing, but even taking actions on behalf of you in a very personalized fashion. And that's kind of why even we said in the beginning, it's your personal assistant. An example that I found was the Salesforce Agent Force. So it was assisting with leading, nurturing, and provides training via virtual role play. I'm actually kind of very curious to see how we will go kind of next in the 5 years with the agentic AI, especially in the HR world. You know, when we will do like assessing of the applicants, will interviews anymore even have, like, we know that nowadays sometimes all you need is just a virtual interview, but maybe in 5 years, will you even go through like in-person probably arrangement, or will you have just a robot appearing in the screen and interviewing it? Maybe probably that's a discussion for long hours, but still, I'm kind of very enthusiastic to see how obviously agentic AI will kind of go into that aspect. And as I mentioned, healthcare, it's a very big part of it because, and for this one, we see a strong kind of increase in the healthcare side, but obviously there is a lot of skepticism in it because we kind of touched it a bit in the beginning. How much do we trust this kind of system, especially when we're dealing with healthcare side? So it's a very sensitive topic. However, we will talk about the responsibility and what to be cautious of it in the next slides as well. So obviously, the challenges and risks that come with it are from a few things. And part of that is because this agentic AI, it's not entirely new, but still it's a very immature phase. So it's not very yet been built in such a way that actually we can trust it fully. And the systems or computational or privacy things have not been yet still built, or frameworks have been built to kind of, in a way, reaffirm that we can fully trust this. And one of you mentioned in the quiz that the data privacy side, right? So basically, how much can we trust it if we give entire trust to this? And what is it going to do with our data? Like, how is it being playing around with our data? And that's why I put the data leakage part. It's something very sensitive that obviously a lot of people kind of put a lot of emphasis. Unauthorized as well. This was mentioned in the quiz that says, how do I know if it kind of takes decisions or even data access without my consent? And that's also a bit of a challenge and a risk that still it's not a clear-cut solution, right? And that's why it's part of the challenges that we have to face with it. Kind of dealing with unauthorized data access, it's kind of a thing that everyone, it's not really sure how we go about it. And even delegating. And that's why I asked, how much do you feel confident to kind of delegate the decision that a human can do, or even a human can make as task, to kind of trust it without even intervening at all as a human? And last is about the stability. At the end of the day, LLMs or small language models, not just LLMs, it's not all about how we take decision, but also how reliable they are and how much scalable and stability they provide. So scalability and how much they can handle, how much data they can handle, and how much stable they take decision. Let's just say one day it does perform 100% very well. The next day stability goes down and doesn't even work. And that's kind of evolving and more kind of research driven, that people are trying to see how it goes next. And I think when we talk about challenges and risk, you cannot talk about without dealing with responsible AI. And responsible AI kind of delves into the bit of agentic AI, Gen AI, everything that includes AI, basically. And I've put here a quote that I didn't kind of said it, but like I was in an event a few weeks ago when actually, when I was having a conversation about responsible AI and governance, and said that you don't need to think about as governance and something separate from innovation or from agentic AI, or even when you do technologies, because without governance, there is no innovation. And responsible AI is actually a part that drives innovation and business growth. And why is that? It's because we discuss the challenges and risk, and all of those challenges and risks that we face can answer by responsible AI and how we go about it, and how we can deal with that with agentic AI, Gen AI. It's actually building the ethical AI by design, us as human. And I've put three main kind of capability, or not capability, but three main, I think, areas that we need to address when we talk about ethical AI, which is building those robust processes within the firms, making sure that we deliver good outcomes for the consumer, and we bring that effective competitive advantage in the market. Robust processes, it's all about who we held accountable, the governance processes. And when we outsource and we go to third parties, how we go about it, and making sure that we bring assurance to everything that we use. What is important, and even FCA put a strong emphasis in this, that we are principle focused and outcome driven, because we want to make sure that for the consumer, we provide a good outcome. And for that to obviously be more ethical, you need to explain and be transparent of what the model is giving. So if per se, you kind of, let's just say, you take a decision in credit scoring for a consumer or something, and technically you are not sure why the AI took a decision to, for example, to kind of decline someone from taking a mortgage or a loan. And if the customer comes to you and says, I got declined by an AI actually to kind of get a loan because of my credit scoring and everything. If you are not able to interpret and explain to the customer why the AI came to that conclusion, you are not providing a good outcome for the consumer. And that's when the ethical AI comes into the place. You need to provide to the consumer the benefits by using AI and not actually putting them at risk. The fairness as well. You need to take in consideration the biases that are part of the data, but also how you deal with vulnerable customer. When we talk about agentic AI and AI, you have to deal with vulnerable customer. And at the same time, it's a huge part of the consumer duty that you need to face when you build for the consumers as well. Effective competitive market. So obviously everyone wants to use AI, leverage AI, and have that market risk. And everyone wants to get the competitive advantage and learn. In the UK specifically, obviously we want to drive that growth and the competitive. However, we need to come together and think about how we go next. In the next slide, I will talk a bit more about the bias and fairnesses in practice. And when I said about bias and fairness, I said that obviously you need to take into consideration how we go about the data, how we go about how we structure everything. And one of the things that I said is fairness. It's not about just a technical things that you do in the data. It's actually a strategic and cultural and commitment that you built as a person and as a data scientist or even as a firm. And to be able to do that, some of the practices are actually to understand the biases that are there. If you're not even aware or you didn't even notice a bias, how you can make sure you don't encounter for it? You need to base things on a real world example. So learn from what happens. For example, with Amazon, they were discriminating with their HR AI tool by just employing white males, for example. So make sure you kind of base things of historical data or historical things that have happened in the past and start to mitigate those biases in real practice and build matrices and tools as well. That's how you kind of make sure that in a way you assess the fairness and the biases that you're using. And last but not least, make sure that you actually embed fairness in your team, in the processes that you do, and how you go about by using AI. In the next slide, obviously, I want to touch on transparency, explainability as well. I said, if AI gives an outcome that actually you are not sure why it gave that, and you are not sure why it actually has provided an answer, that means you are not able to explain it, or even you do not have a transparent outcome for the consumer. And by having transparent and explainable AI, it will just help you to drive more actually innovation and adoption across the organization. Why it matters? I think it's quite intuitive to understand that you want to build trust with users, with people, with stakeholders, regulators as well. So you need to make sure that when you have this AI, agentic AI things happening, you enable accountability. And a very good point from one of you in the quiz said, how I'm sure that I can trust it, or who is accountable at the end of the day. And that's why we need to make sure that we are able to identify and kind of correct for errors and consequences when you have this kind of hallucinations or things happening that you can encounter for. And few of the risk that kind of comes with it is the black box system, which kind of create confusion and mistrust. And as I mentioned, lack of explanation that can lead obviously to legal challenges and user rejections. A big firm obviously have a legacy, have a reputation. And one of the reason why responsible AI, it's a big concern for everyone, is because you want to make sure you give the right answers to each individual with using AI. Some of the best practices for this is obviously use explainable methods and models where appropriate, and provide user-friendly explanation. So make sure that for every time you use AI, be transparent about it, and be transparent how, even for non-technical people, to understand what happens in the background of it, and make sure document and communicate everything when AI takes the decision. And that's something we have to learn how we go about it with agentic AI. I mentioned that having responsible AI, it is a strategic and cultural thing. And how to do that is actually to make sure we embed responsible AI in the culture. And to do that, you have to design and make it a purpose for the firm, for the teams, and everyone, and monitor and always feedback on what you give from the AI. And to do that, you need to have the expert, the human in the loop, to always maintain this model and review. As we said with agentic AI, the great thing about it is that you are able to reevaluate and learn from it, and always feedback on how it is performing and assessing. So augmenting that human capability that you can provide, and build that responsible AI literacy, like you're doing today with also this talk, to be able to understand how to build that culture. When you monitor, make sure that you have those matrices, those tools that you can evaluate from, and AI documentation, which I mentioned previously, is a very big piece of it. When you monitor and you kind of feedback always on how it is kind of process and AI seeking for, it's a big part of the risk management. And why continuous monitoring matters is because over time, as I mentioned with agentic AI, some of the challenges and risks that we saw is that it's not stable. And that's because AI system can drift over time. The data could be because of the model, or even the concept drift. Without monitoring and being able to have this continuous monitoring of the models over time can become very unreliable and even unfair. And we dived in a lot of discussion about kind of being unreliable and even fairness. So I'm not going to dive more into that. And last but not least, you help ensure regulatory compliance, trust, and performance stability. Some of the best practices how to do that: make sure you define the KPIs for model performance and fairness, schedule regular audits and post-deployment reviews. And that's a very big emphasis I want to put personally into the post-deployment, like it's a critical thing you have to maintain. Establish clear incident response protocol, which is one of the main things you have to do when you deal with risk management. Maintain documentation for traceability and accountability. And I think where we are going next to kind of with agentic AI in the future direction. So we're not talking about just one agent, we're talking about the whole team. And with that, I want to say that data, where we're heading next, is the lifeblood of agentic AI. Enterprise data challenges, synthetic data, which is a key enabler, and domain-specific intelligence, which kind of support that expert level reasoning at scale. And multi-agent orchestration, which we talked in the beginning is that you have the dynamic collaboration, task delegation, and conflict resolution by using multiple AI agents, by working together across the whole workflows that you have. And I think with that, we've come to an end to our discussion. I've put two final thoughts for you to take away, which is the agentic AI is transforming businesses by enabling AI systems to work autonomously, solve complex problems, and continuously improve through learning. And when implemented responsibly, with transparency, ethics, human oversight, it unlocks new levels of productivity and innovation. And I hope with that, you found it useful and learned a lot.
Thank you, Aurora. That was brilliant. And it's definitely sparked a lot of questions coming through on the chat as well. So we've got some time to answer a few of these live. So if we just start from the top, we've got, what is the best way to test AI applications or products?
So it depends actually in the context. So I would say in the financial, I'm going to maybe be biased a bit more into financial sector to the answer because of my expertise. A very good initiative for you to be able to actually test this is using safe environment sandboxes. FCA, for example, has actually announced a supercharged sandbox where you can go and test the models at POC level. And for that, it has been powered by NVIDIA, and firms and everyone can go and test it out. And that's what even, for example, not in financial services, but other sectors can do, build that sandbox environments to be able to test safely what you have before you go to deployments. And after that, as I mentioned, monitor and feedback.
Thank you. And the next question is, most LLMs are trained and tested by the developers. Would it make sense for the testing to be carried out by independent test teams?
That depends. I think it depends how you kind of put the frameworks into the place. So when we talk about the AI life cycle, if you see it fit that the testing and everything to be independent, to kind of have more, I would say, outside in the loop, expert in the loop, that obviously can give more granular level of the testing and kind of monitoring everything. But at the same time, it would be quite beneficial for even inside teams to actually do this, because you build it and you have to kind of document it and monitoring at the same time. So I could say yes and no. Would it make more sense? I think it depends on how the teams are being built and what they've kind of focused on.
Thank you. Can you give a practical example of how AI agents work? For example, in HR or project management, which I think you did kind of cover in the presentation, but expand.
Yeah, I did. I mean, something, for example, in HR, as I said, maybe in the future you will have HR people not being very much tiring into like assessing any applicant, right? Agentic AI will do it for you. Every assessing can happen that it will do the interviews at some point to the people. Or project management, it will be able to like, for example, do kind of manage the task, keep track of it, and even kind of make it kind of build the sprints or everything for you. These are just examples that come at the top of my head.
Perfect. Amazing. And are there guardrails in agentic AI to overcome hallucinations? Assuming the accuracy is better than Gen AI, how is it made better?
Well, even for this, I touched a bit about the kind of the risk and the management part of how we go with agentic AI. So at the moment, the guardrails that at least are now for agentic AI kind of lies what with EU AI Act, for example. We have the prohibited things that you cannot do with AI, and for agentic AI as well, it has a lot of kind of answers have to kind of not deal, or what things not to put, or not what to do. Hallucinations, I would say that's it's a big topic. You will have like people thinking that it hallucinates when you have not trained well, or like the data, and it's something that I don't think ever can kind of overcome completely, even with agentic AI. Even I think the question even says, assuming the accuracy is better, which it is highly assumed because of the reinforcement learning capabilities that it does. But I cannot say actually how much has it made it better, but it hasn't made it because of the iterative process. When you use agentic AI, they can do, and how much it can learn from the new databases all the time.
Brilliant, thank you. And just final question. I can see there's a few more through, but we've not got time to answer those. So our final question is from where and what we need to learn in order to start learning and creating our own agentic AI, and how can we start that? What's the path of development?
Yeah,
so I've not read that well. There you go.
So it's a question, a strong question to end, kind of. So I think where and what we need to learn, I think, is building the AI literacy. I think to be able to work in the agentic AI world, you need to be able to kind of understand the foundation of machine learning. As I said, reinforcement learning is a huge tiny bit of it, and have that mathematics, computer science background. Apart from that, you also need to obviously maintain curious to start to create your own agentic AI, right? So agentic AI has given the opportunity to kind of do things for you in a way that kind of leverage that innovation and kind of expertise and go beyond what Gen AI can do. And I think how to start first steps in it, in the AI development, is make sure you have the business understanding of what agentic AI can do for you. Because if you understand that, that's how you can build the whole process and build the whole frameworks, how you go with agentic AI.
Brilliant, thank you. Well, thank you so much, Aurora, for joining us today. An absolutely brilliant presentation, and you can see in the comments, everyone agrees. And it was great to see so many attendees from lots of different places globally as well. We'll share the recording to everyone, and within that follow-up, we'll also send a request for future speakers, as we're always looking for the next Superwomen in Tech presenter. So if you are interested, then please do get back in touch with our team, and we can pick up the conversation then. Our next session will be booked in after the summer. We're taking a bit of a break now, so we'll be in contact for the next session to come in for September. But thank you very much on behalf of SGI and Superwomen in Tech, and hope to see you soon. Thank you. Bye-bye.